Hello and welcome. Today I have Kristofer Cook, the CEO of Carbiotix with me. Hi, Kristofer.
Hi, Kajsa. How are you?
Fine, thank you. So we're here today to talk about the quarterly report, and we're going to discuss last quarter. Let's begin with the news about this new enzyme from a potential partner. What's this all about?
Yeah, that's a good question. I would say in the beginning of Q4 last year, we were made aware of an enzyme from, in this case, the partner in question was quite a large company. And we knew at the time as well that if this enzyme performed well, it could have potentially a short-term negative impact on the company, in the sense it would possibly shift the schedule of our process and some reg work. But we knew that that particular enzyme, if it worked out, it would be very promising in terms of the reg work in the medium to long term and our ability to get product to market much quicker. So what we did is we evaluated that enzyme in Q1 of this year, and I think it was March 24th, we communicated that those initial evaluations did go quite well, and that we would obviously, because of that, do a more comprehensive evaluation. But fundamentally, what we're talking about is something that will allow us to accelerate the regulatory work, the high-end reg work, and then hopefully bring products to market much quicker. And therefore, it was warranted to both explore that enzyme and look at how that enzyme would impact the reg work and the scale-up work as well.
Okay, so I understand. Moving on, in January, you've announced that you have been admitted to something called Pepsi Greenhouse Accelerator program. Tell me a bit more about this, please.
Yeah, definitely. Well, what we managed to do at the beginning of January is we managed to align around the communication plan and sign an agreement, because we were the first listed company ever to sit in this accelerator. So it was a bit tricky in terms of getting everything aligned. But the fundamentals of this accelerator are that we have access to 2 mentors over a 6-month period that are providing key advice in terms of how we should sell our Access product, in terms of packaging it, setting up a formulation lab, which is one of the key activities we did in the program, and then getting access to key competencies like IP, clinical studies, reg work, etc. So overall, I can say wonderful experience up until now. And I anticipate the last 1.5 months are going to be very good as well. But obviously, PepsiCo is a large multinational food and beverage company with very defined protocols, but I would have to say is quite progressive as well. And this is a first step for us, at least, to get sort of a foot in the door with a company like that really requires large volumes of redundancy in production and doing the proper reg work and formulation work as well. But definitely as a door opener, a wonderful experience up until now.
Let's talk about your product LinkGut. What's the latest development here?
Yeah, LinkGut has been an evolution in the company. We communicated at the end of last year that we had signed on 3 API LinkGut partners. And then we made a promise earlier as well that we would complete the API development at the end of Q1, and we communicated that at the beginning of Q2. And the significance of that is that now we're focusing solely on the LinkGut partners that are sort of the API partners. And what that means is that we are not a B2C company. We are a B2B company offering the lowest cost, most reliable, and most flexible gut health test to any company that wants to offer a gut health test to their customers. So we're very defined in that niche, and I would say we're very competitive as well. So what we're doing now is obviously onboarding those early API partners, the 3 companies that I mentioned, although I haven't disclosed the name of the companies, and these will come online as we introduce different case studies. And then obviously we're ramping up in terms of selling in the API opportunity to different other companies in the health and wellness space, the food and beverage space, nutraceutical space, who want to offer a test for their customers.
And how has the pandemic affected your work with finding new partners?
Our focus in the short term, I would have to say, has been on onboarding these API partners. And it hasn't impacted us significantly because we had the relationship with those parties from last year already. What we've actually seen is that, generally speaking, during the pandemic, there's been an increased interest in gut health, which has been positive. So I think a company in our place that's sitting with the value proposition that we have, which is quite competitive, at least from my perspective, I think is going to favor quite well in that type of environment. Whereas potentially, obviously, the parties selling directly to customers, and maybe the customers don't have the income to pay for these types of tests. But overall, getting the partners on board hasn't been a problem. And I think growing those partner sales over time, which is the ambition. So it's not the number of partners necessarily, because they are the amplifiers or accelerators of sales, but then the number of sales quarter to quarter, which is the most important metric. That's, I think, what's going to be sort of defining our future going forward. And I see us put in a very nice position from relatively low volumes to the volumes which I think we can achieve in this space. And the market estimate is about €100 million market. So the question is, what market share can we take of that going forward, and how will that market grow? And that's yet to be seen, but I'm optimistic as always.
Yes, and you have added 3 new members to your team. Can you tell me a bit about these, please?
Yeah, I'm very happy to not necessarily announce, because it's been announced already, obviously, but to talk about the 2 new board members. So Jonas Danielsson and Kristin Monsen, coming with a lot of experience. So between 10 to 25 years experience, between the 2 individuals in the process side and different management positions in food processing industries. So already that is paying dividends. We've had our first board meeting, obviously, and they're very involved in the different activities, providing extremely good advice, contacts, networking. So I'm very happy on the board level. On the sales position, I'm equally happy. See over my shoulder, Eric Diener, our new head of sales, is sitting there. And again, what his responsibility is essentially to professionalize the entire sales function of the companies. I've been doing everything under the sun, which is the case of all CEOs and companies, and now it's time to sort of organize this function in a professional manner, and he's certainly the guy to do it. So he'll be shadowing me on a lot of things as well, and I certainly look forward to working with Eric going forward.
Finally, Kristofer, I'd like to know a little bit about your interest as CEO in the long-term growth of Carbiotix. Where do you hope to see Carbiotix in, let's say, 3 years?
Well, from previous discussions that I always take a long-term perspective. I've communicated this to the market, and I've communicated this to you as well earlier, that, my perspective is always 5 to 10 years. And in previous companies, as well as Carbiotix, I've allocated private funds into the company with a long-term perspective, with no expectation of doing any type of exit, and essentially coming into a situation where, if we're able to execute properly, that value will materialize over time. In terms of my interest to continue doing that, it's probably safe to say that if I can invest further in the company, and I'm allowed to invest further in the company, and it's justifiable at the time to invest in the company, then I'll invest in the company. So my passion for the company holds strong, and I'll continue to invest given those criteria going forward. In terms of specific objectives going forward, I can't specify exactly what we're going to achieve at specific times, obviously, but definitely when we're talking about the diagnostic ramp up, I want to see growth in the number of partners and unit sales of these diagnostics tests that we're offering through the Link Gut service. And regards to the modulators, getting access online ASAP with our first regs in the US is a priority in the company, and then scaling up the manufacturing to get sales to market. And then obviously pursuing getting the regs in place for the European market, and then more advanced regs in the US. And that will allow us also to eventually get into the medical foods and therapeutics. So I can't specify specific dates or quarters in terms of what we'll achieve in the next 3 years, but that is sort of the time plan and our trajectory going forward as well. And obviously in that time frame, the objective is to get to profitability as soon as possible. we're coming through a phase of development where we have one leg that we're standing on right now. That's the diagnostic testing. And then we need two legs, which will be the first access sales. Targeting initially high-end applications at a higher price point, and then riding that cost curve down as we increase production volumes at our own facilities and potentially through partners as well.
Well, Kristofer, thank you very much for today, and thanks for answering my questions. And I look forward to speaking to you again in the next quarter.
It's always a pleasure, Kaisa. All the best.